247 Sports Mike Casas have reported today on their podcast that Neal Brown isn't as safe as he was even a week ago. Things are falling apart quickly in Morgantown. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up? Welcome in, guys. Thank you for joining. My name is Mountaineer Paul. Another edition of Locked On West Virginia heading your way. Brought to you by FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, and that's guaranteed. You have to visit FanDuel.com to get started. And thank you for making Locked On West Virginia your first or last listen of the day. Brought to you by the podcast network of Locked On, where we talk about your team every day. Big Aaron's here. I can start the show now with his White Pony record. Just so beautiful. Such a good record. Love that record. For those of you listening on podcast, I am live on YouTube, and so sometimes I do engage with the chat. But generally speaking, I try to go on with the show. Okay, so a lot to get to here. I feel like I'm too loud in the microphone. Let me know how it sounds. So I'm embarrassed for our university. I'm embarrassed for Neal Brown. I've gotten a lot of flack the last couple of days. I don't care really, but I am going to mention it. So just a couple things people have mentioned. If you do see flies, I'm a bachelor. I don't keep the best well-kept house. Sometimes I might not take my trash out the day I'm supposed to. Sometimes there's an extra day there. I leave my door open a lot because I like fresh air. I had like two people mention that they saw a fly. I just wanted to point that out. And then one is the other thing. Like the stories like yesterday with Garrett Green and stuff. I'm going to report on stuff like that. And so if you don't like that kind of stuff, this is probably your kind of show. Because, listen, I had to record 5 days a week. So I can't just pick and choose. I have to do things when they're ready, I can't wait a week, So that's unfortunate. Sometimes I have to run with storylines that I would rather talk about what's on the field. You know what I'm saying? But this is what's hot right now. This is what people want to hear for the most part. And I can't please both sides. And so I'm just going to do me when it comes to that stuff. And at the end of the day, you just have to decide whether this is for you or not. So just know this. I love West Virginia. I love the state of West Virginia. I was born and raised in the state of West Virginia. I've got the Define WV tatted on my body with my dad's date of birth and date of death inside of it. And I was raised to love West Virginia. If that's not enough credentials for you, I've had several players on the show. I've had Ren Baker on this show. I've had several head coaches, offensive coordinators on this show. So if you think I'm somehow not qualified to be here, go check for past episodes and stuff like that, because I've gotten a lot of that the last couple of days too. And I realized with the Locked On name comes an extra added layer of credibility needed, and also speculation and scrutinization. So I'm just getting over these humps really quick. Because I feel the need to just address them. I'm not defending myself. I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to do what I want on this show. So, nitpicking is going to happen. Exactly, Jeff. So with that said, I'm pissed. I really am. I just don't like Pat Narduzzi. I can't do it. Here's the thing, guys. Neal has brought a lot of this on himself. No doubt about it. The questions, the Mike Osti question and answer that happened there definitely came across disingenuous and tone deaf on Neal's part. We get that. The story's getting beat to death at this point, but it's got to take a life of its own, and new layers keep getting added to it, much like the one I'm about to show you, which is, I hate it, guys. I hope they – I hope they go winless the rest of the year. Pat Narduzzi, great week during our bye week practices. Did we enjoy it? Check. Was there nice weather? Check. Prove it. H2P. If that doesn't make your blood boil, I don't know what will. Pat Narduzzi dancing on the grave of Neal Brown. And, I shared a video on my profile earlier of him and Neal engaging with each other before the backyard brawl. And from what I could see, Pat Narduzzi was treating him like a friend, like a chum, like somebody, So what is it, Narduzzi? Are you disingenuous? Are you fake? Because that's what I get when I see Narduzzi talk flat out. He's a fake. So whether you like it or not, as a Pitt fan, whatever, he's a fake person. He's pretending to be a certain way to somebody's face and then driving the nail in behind their back. You can make any kind of comment you want about that, but that's what's happening. So Neal Brown has brought that onto himself, but it also just shows what kind of person that Narduzzi is, that he would pile on another coach in his profession when he's had struggles of his own just last year. So it makes no sense for Narduzzi to do something like that and to try to be one of the cool kids when he's clearly not. He's very corny. He's a cornball, flat out. So that's just the way I see him. And I hope, this is what I hope. In a lot of ways, it makes me want to see Neal stick around for another year and beat those boys next year in Morgantown. So I know that's not going to be a popular take, but it really made me mad to see him do that, because why even get in it? Why even dance on his grave when Neal was nothing but gracious when we beat you guys last year? And that just, it's one of the things about Neal that I've always liked, is that he takes the high road a lot, even when he shouldn't, to his own detriment. It's one of the things that his coaching his on-field coaching has been so bad that his character can't save him anymore. But in moments like that, when I see a guy like Narduzzi, who is 6-0 on a weak record or on a weak schedule, no doubt, you haven't played anywhere near or close to the schedule we played. You haven't played Penn State. You haven't played a team probably even as good as yourself yet. You haven't played Iowa State. None of those teams have you played anywhere close to. So it's different. Listen, man. He's saying this talk is Pitt is saying I need to get a grasp on what a rivalry is. At the end of the day, we're talking this. There's a difference between the fan base doing this. There's a difference between even people in the media doing this. But when another head coach is about to be fired or close to being fired, and you dance on his grave, to me, I feel like that's just a little out of bounds, and it's disingenuous. And Pat Narduzzi once again shows his true colors. So, he's a piece of garbage. He's a piece of garbage, and I will dance all over his grave if and when he ever fails. So, to me, that's just strike three for him, man. He's gotten on my nerves so many times, calling us zoo animals, But one thing about our guys is that we never even pretend like they exist for the most part, at least in the coaches and players. Like, we don't even pretend like they exist. I do, but the players and coaches don't. Anyway, that made me mad for Neal. It really did. And you're right, Stephen Keel. He says Pitt fans wanted him fired last year. Now they think he's sliced bread. He's trash, and Pitt program is trash. At the end of the day, they have played a really soft schedule, and they're undefeated. They've won all their games, and they deserve a lot of the hype that they're getting. But when they play some of the better teams in the ACC, they will get smacked down. Watch it happen. They might be lucky and make it to the ACC championship game, but I don't even think they'll make it there. So, at the end of the day, they've beaten us this year, but we'll have our laugh. And I'll trust and believe I'll be there for it. That's just your opinion, Big Ears. At the end of the day, he said it's funny. I disagree. So I think it just shows what kind of person that Narduzzi is. Like I said, I posted the video on my page of Narduzzi. What's up, man? Act like he's so cool with him. Being such a friend to him. Oh, what's up, old chum? And then whenever something like this happens, you dance on his grave. All right. So up next on Locked On West Virginia, we're going to move on from this part here. I didn't even get into the ESPN part. Let me do that really quick too. Okay, so this is ESPN has even picked up this story, which a lot of you might have heard. Then we'll go to break, and then we'll talk about the Casazza comments, which are not good, by the way. But ESPN around the horn criticizes Neal Brown's comments. This is from Blue Gold Sports. I'm going to read this article really quick. On Monday, West Virginia head coach Neal Brown was asked if he had a message for fans after the disappointing loss to Iowa State, and then we know the answer. Well, on Wednesday, ESPN's Around the Horn, a roundtable sports discussion show, which has been around since I was in high school at least, and I'm 39. I mean, it's probably been around longer than that. It's been around 20, 25 years, and Reality, I think, has been the host there the entire way. They may have had somebody before him, but I don't remember him. Discussed the comments and gave their honest thoughts. This discussion was dubbed Head Coach Brown Pushing Good Time at Home Games. This is not the play. You do not tell a fan base that was expecting your team to win a Big 12 and be in the college football playoff potentially that you should just be happy. They're having fun out there. It's a really bad look, panelist Jen Latta said. Following Latta's thoughts, Tony Reale mentioned that WVU has another home game this week, but said Amos Zeroe is not walking through that door. Major Harris is not walking through that door. Pat White not walking through that door. And then there's a video clip on it. So I highly suggest checking that out if you get time. It's a lighthearted. To me, it was a little more funny. Mina Kimes, who I'm just a huge fan of, would love to speak with her one day. It'd be a dream of mine to actually to interview her, which I've tried. It's it's not going to be one of those things that I expect to happen, but it's a bucket list, because I respect her football acumen so much. Like, she knows so much about football for being a woman and Asian and just the factors that how she is just one of those things I really like about her. But man, she definitely knows her stuff. So, but yeah, so for ESPN to pick this up, man, just let you know how big of a story it was. Barstool picked it up, Outkick picked it up. Like, there's a lot, and Neal Brown's really brought this on himself in a lot of ways. I just don't agree with the way Narduzzi handled it because he's a coach and he knows what it's like to be in that spot. He was just there last year, but outside of that, the media circles that's surrounding it has actually played a huge part in possibly unseating Neal Brown as the head coach. And Mike Casazza spoke about that just today on his podcast. We'll address that on the next segment of Locked On West Virginia. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you in part by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. All you got to do is place your first $5 bet, and that's at FanDuel.com. Let's look up on FanDuel right now the West Virginia-Kansas State spread. And it is still -3 Kansas State on FanDuel. So keep that in mind whenever you go to look up your spreads for your bets this weekend if you're doing a parlay. And make sure you go to FanDuel. All right. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On West Virginia. Man, you think it would – we're getting closer to game week, and you think it would be getting better, right? The more distance that gets between Neal and those comments on Monday, you think things would get better. And then I just saw before I came on, by the way, and maybe it's a failed attempt at a joke, and I haven't heard the context yet, but on the coach's show, Neal Brown does his coach's show every week. Tony asked him or made a mention of the weather, and I'm curious to see how that sounds because it sounds like probably a failed attempt at a joke from what I understand, but I haven't heard it yet. So let me know, guys, if you've heard Neal's coach's show yet, and what Tony Caridi said there. But so I listened to Mike Casazza Ears to Ears podcast today. And if you heard it last week after the Iowa State game, or well, actually earlier this week after the Iowa State game, or maybe it was Sunday, I think they did the episode. The question was asked, what percentage do you give for X, Y, and Z record for Neal Brown? 5 wins, 6 wins, 7 wins, 8 wins. What's the percentage that he is in or out? And it was something he actually caught a lot of flack for, but because the numbers were low, I think 5 wins was like 35% chance he would be fired. And a lot of people weren't happy about that. And don't quote me on the numbers 100%, but it was low. Like even at 5 wins, Mike Casazza, who's very plugged in and has a good feel, felt like it would be 35, 40%, somewhere in that range for him to be fired. So still not even 50%, which means it's more likely for him to be back. After the comments, it's completely changed. The tone has completely changed, and the certainty of him returning is much lesser, to the point to where I think most people were expecting him to be gone unless they can do what I've been saying is possible all this week, even though people think I'm crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but if West Virginia gets by Kansas State this weekend, I've said it the last 2 shows, the schedule lightens up to the point to where West Virginia will be favored in every game except probably 1 or 2. So you're looking at, in my opinion, worst case, 7 wins if you win this week. Best case, you can get all the way up to 9. And it would put you in the Big 12 championship game. The only team that West Virginia has lost to is Iowa State. Excuse me. And they and BYU are in the driver's seat, no doubt, to go play in the Big 12 championship game. But I don't see either one of them remaining undefeated. And so, interestingly enough, K-State, West Virginia play this weekend. So they basically control their destiny to the point of if they beat Kansas State, there's a shot here. And I don't know how big of a shot it is, but I mean, when you look at our schedule, man, Cincinnati is a tough game, but it's a definitely winnable game. Baylor's one of those games that can be tricky, but I mean, you got to favor West Virginia in that game. Texas Tech is a game that you just never know, but I would consider that a pretty even matchup at this point in time, even though they've got a better record. And then UCF is down right now. They played horribly this year at times. So big ears, I just disagree with that, brother. I just do. I think we'll see what happens Saturday, but outside of Saturday, Arizona's not good. They've got one player that I even consider good on offense. So, which McMillan is the best receiver in the country. Don't get me wrong, but West Virginia can take him away to some extent, or just let him get his yards and be done with the rest. But Arizona doesn't scare me after watching them this year. They're just not the same team as they were last year. That's just my opinion, though. Texas Tech, we'll see what they are. It's the same team we played last year. They've got a great running back in Taj Brooks. Baron Morton's coming along. But any quarterback that we play that is in the pocket like a statue or lesser of a less mobile type quarterback, I feel like we got a shot to get to, and like Bowman, throw off. So Avery Johnson is not that this weekend, so it's going to be tough. But other quarterbacks like Baron Morton, who aren't exactly what I would consider Garrett Greens out there, I think we've got a better chance against those type players. And had Iowa State not had the great receivers they had, and if we not had the broken coverages that we had, we probably had a chance to win that game, even though it looks like we didn't at the score. they've even gone into detail and said exactly what happened on a couple of those plays. And I don't know how it happens. I don't know if it's a Jordan Leslie being in the press box for only his second game or what's going on there. But the coverages were two separate coverages on each half of the field. Like, just for instance, one side was playing zone, one side was playing man, or one side was playing quarters, the other side was playing brackets, whatever. And that's the reason for the first bust and score. So it's pretty crazy, But so I'm interested to see what we look like on Saturday against the K-State team. But outside of that, I like the rest of our schedule for the most part. Looking at Arizona really quick. Let's see. Show more. So when you look at them this year, I mean, they've just not been impressive at all. Like, they just they did beat Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl, which made everybody think they were going to be pretty good this year. New Mexico put 40 points up on them, by the way. Northern Arizona, which is one of the worst teams, put up 10, which is really nothing. Then Kansas State held them to 7. They beat a really bad Utah team or a much worse Utah team than most people would think. Then they lost to Tech. Then they lost to BYU 41-19. So they've been blown out really bad twice this year by good teams. Don't get me wrong. But my point is they're not a great team. Like, you can't lose the 41-19 and 31-7 and be great to the Big 12 teams. Like, we lost to Penn State like that. The Iowa State game, that was a 12-point game, but I feel like, I don't know. In the Iowa State game, what I feel like in that game was, I really feel like that game was very winnable. And Neal Brown, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but he became what we haven't been all year. The 2 field goal attempts, one we made, one we missed. We were going for those. That was fourth down. We were going for it all year long, which is why we had the number 1 fourth down percentage in the country, in the nation, coming into that game last week. And so 4th and 3, 4th and 2, we have been going for it on a very high rate. I get it. Iowa State's defense is better than most other defenses that we played, but we even went for it against Penn State. And then the other thing was, I think I said this on the show too, but after the 14-play drive and to start the game versus Iowa State, we tried to make Garrett a passer way too often, in my opinion. And obviously I'm not a coach, but that first drive was all running, and unfortunately they just strayed away from that, and that's what happened. So I don't know, but here we are. We are at 3-3, and we got to figure out what's going to happen next. So, oh well. Up next on Locked On West Virginia, guys, we've got some injuries to talk about for Saturday, and one of them is really bad. So stick around for that. This is Locked On West Virginia. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by Hims Sexual Health. That's right. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom, if you're like me. Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Your sex life is important, but your schedule's busy. You don't have time to go to a doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through Hims, you can get a personalized ED treatment without the stepping not even 1 foot outside your door. Hims is changing the game, and it's changing healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual treatments from the comfort of your couch. It provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints, Viagra, Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to opening care. With hundreds and thousands of trusted subscribers, HIMS can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. The products mentioned are chewable compound products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will then determine if it's appropriate. Restrictions do apply. See the website for details and important safety information. Subscriptions required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. All right, we're back. Don't laugh at me, Golf. Here's the thing. I'm not going to lie about this, and I would probably get in trouble. I'm supposed to read my reads beforehand, and I did not know that was coming. So I didn't know I was about to do an ED read, That caught me off guard. I'm just really good at reading, with like you guys see me read these articles a lot. I'm able to read an entire thing like I've read it before, pretty much the first time. I'll stumble here and there, but my reading, I'm pretty decent at it. So I was able to get through that, but geez, I wasn't expecting the subject matter to be what it was, but it's an important subject. Not saying it isn't. All right, let's get off of ED and on to injuries. Man, there's only one real big one, and I wanted to talk about it really quick before we put a bow on this episode. But TJ Jackson is on crutches right now, and Neal Brown addressed this Monday. We thought maybe we would have him back, and I haven't texted him. I will text him today and let you guys know tomorrow if he replies to me, which he should. He usually does. I'll text TJ today and see how he's feeling. And if I'm allowed, if he'll let me share it, I'll share it. They probably won't want me to because obviously the scouting report and everything. You want to make Kansas State prepare for him, even though at this point it looks like he's probably not going to play. And unfortunately for us, he's by far our best pressure guy. From the inside especially. Tyron Bradley's been good. And we do have some guys that can step in there, but that takes us down 2 defensive tackles. And if you look at what DJ Giddens has done, it's beyond impressive. Something I heard on the Ears to Ears podcast today that blew me away. DJ Giddens is top 15 in the country in rushing if you only count his after contact yards. He's averaging over 5 yards per carry after contact, guys. That is an elite number. And if you go look at what he did to Colorado last week, he almost gave him 200. He's going to be the difference in this game one way or the other. And we've been good at stopping really good running backs. Here's the difference, in my opinion, between a DJ Giddens and an Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon is the kind of player that if you can get to him in the backfield, he's not going to be able to do much. Sometimes he does if he can throw you down or something, but with his legs, he's not going to make you miss like Jaheim can or something and then get to the hole. If you let Ollie Gordon through the hole 1 or 2 steps to where he can get some momentum going, it's over, right? Giddens is the kind of guy that he can press the hole and make moves in the hole and make people miss in the hole. And unfortunately, I just worry about TJ being out because he's been so good against both the run and the pass this year. And he's so good at shedding blocks. He's so good at just penetrating and slanting towards whichever run side, whichever fit they've got set up, and on coming off stunts. Everything he's done for us, he's, in my opinion, TJ's given himself a shot at the NFL. And he's a shorter nose tackle, but he's really a lot like Dante Stills with that quickness. He has been so good, man. He's been so good. So I'm really hoping that he's able to play, but it's not seeming like it. So, which is unfortunate. Hey, Chillwire, I don't know who you're talking to, brother, but try not to come in here with that. It's just why, I mean, uh, I know the way you're saying it can be like a funny way to say it, but there's no reason to call somebody fat, brother. Not everybody's able to just shake that off. So, how about our center's hand? I'll text Brandon and ask him. His mom has been, if you, oh, by the way, a few of you guys did, but on the last video about Garrett Green's mom, and I know a lot of you guys liked it, and that's fine. Not everybody has to like it. Doesn't mean you don't have to listen to him anymore either, though. I mean, I was just reporting what everybody else already had. There was like 50 articles about it, and everybody came down on me for doing a video on it. But anyways, Brandon Yates' mom posted a couple comments on that video. Her name is Sharinda or something like that. If you could go encourage her, she seemed pretty upset, feeling scared because she was worried that if Brandon continues to struggle to snap it, that maybe their family may get death threats or something. I realize that it's a little bit of drama, but I do believe her that she's nervous and scared for her son. So just wanted to put that out there. But Brandon, as far as Brandon Yates goes, he's going to play. I know that. What it came down to was he was having to snap the ball with the tips of his fingers more so than having it in the palm where you've got more control over it. With the tips of the fingers, a lot of times you can, obviously that's why the snap was coming high. At least that's what I was told. So, excuse me, I had to get a drink. Mouth was dry. It's hard to talk for 30 minutes straight and not need a drink. But obviously the Band-Aid got in the way, and it's not like he's just messing up the snap just because he's having trouble snapping it. It was literally like, have you ever put gauze and a bandage in the palm of your hand and then like try to grab a football or something? It's hard. It's really hard. Like go try to grab a hammer and then try to grab a 2 liter of Pepsi. Try it. Similar to that, like it's just very difficult to grip. Which is why, the old school way was with 2 hands, right? And you can put that spin on it, and then long snappers still do that. I'll tell you what, because in centers and stuff, they hurt their hands so often. Might not be a good method to learn. Unfortunately, your head and neck area is at larger risk if that happens. So, oh well. Guys, I appreciate you joining me for this episode. By the way, I didn't know they were going to put it up, but that we did a Big 12 roundtable. It's on, it was earlier, the video before this. Go check that out too. Very funny episode. It's where all of us Locked On Big 12 hosts get together and just kind of chime in and make jokes and laugh and things like that. It's a pretty funny episode. So check that out too if you get time today. Like the video before you leave. Share it out if you can. Thank you to those on X watching. Thank you to those listening on podcast. Keep coming back, guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen. As always, love to hear that. For your second listen, though, if you could do me a big favor, make Locked On Big 12 your last listen of the day. Drake Toll pretty much leads the conversation in conference realignment news and holds no punches when it comes to covering every team in the Big 12. Find Locked On Big 12 on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Guys, big game coming up Saturday, and we'll do something tomorrow. I'll try to get another K-State person on. I've got a couple people in mind. That way we can shift away from some of this drama talk. Hopefully nothing else breaks that causes me to have to cover this. I'd like to just cover what's on the field. And let's go Mountaineers. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I'm out.